All right, let's jump into the upcoming presidential election. And this one's shaping up to be one for the record books, hopefully for the right reasons. I don't know if you're like me, but I'm sick of seeing the commercials for both sides, both parties, every possible election that might show up on my feed. Now, let's take a step back, look at historically speaking what both parties typically mean for the economy, the markets, and your portfolio, as well as is each candidate is slowly starting to roll out their policy proposals. Now, the most important thing I can't stress enough, I don't care which side you vote for, is to vote in the voting booth. We don't want to vote with our portfolios. So the best thing we can do, take a historical perspective, take a step back, and that way we won't end up overreacting over whoever gets elected and any of the policies they might propose. So buckle up, pour yourself a drink, and let's go through it over the next couple of minutes. Forget blue versus red. The real story behind economic growth and your investments is this chart right here. This chart paints a clear picture. The U.S. economy has been on an upward trajectory since World War II, with both Democrats in blue and Republicans in red seeing periods of expansion. Those gray bars, they represent recessions, those inevitable bumps in the road. Now, here's where it gets interesting. It's easy to assume that the party in power has a major influence on the economy, but the reality is far more complex. Major shifts like globalization and the tech revolution have played a much bigger role in shaping our economic landscape over the past decades. These trends would have unfolded regardless of who occupied the Oval Office. So what does that mean for your investments? In the long run, these broad economic cycles are the real drivers of investment returns. While government policies can certainly impact things like taxes and regulations, they're just one piece of the puzzle. So keep your eye on the big picture. Don't get caught up in the political back and forth and the overall news media noise. Now, it's a bit of a puzzle. Despite inflation cooling down and the economy showing strengths on many fronts, consumer confidence is still in the doldrums. After weathering a few stormy years, it seems folks are still feeling the pinch, and the rising tide of consumer debt isn't helping matters. Now, take a look at this chart. Total non-mortgage consumer debt has more than doubled over the past 20 years. The surge in student loans and auto loans in particular is making waves, increasing at rates we haven't seen since 2003. This isn't lost on presidential candidates who are steering their campaigns towards consumer issues. While they might differ in other areas, their economic roadmaps share some common ground. Both are homing in on the rising cost of living, tackling everything from grocery prices to prescription meds to housing expenses. These topics are set to stay in the spotlight as we sail through the rest of this election season. Let's wrap things up by taking a look at this chart, which highlights the highest marginal individual and corporate federal tax rates over the past century, with key changes labeled. It's clear that today's tax rates are actually pretty low compared to historical levels. However, with the budget deficit ballooning, some experts are predicting that taxes could be on the rise in the future. As we dive deeper into the election, it's no surprise that the candidates have different takes on taxation and policy. Yet, interestingly, they do share a common ground on a few points, like increasing the child tax credit and keeping tips tax-free. The truth is, despite all the hype around the differences between the two parties, a lot of policies stick around even when power changes hands. And the changes we do see usually happen gradually. So as this election season heats up, remember, the best place to make your voice heard is the ballot box, not your investment portfolio. Hope you found these insights valuable. If you'd like to chat more about this, don't hesitate to reach out. I'd love to talk with you more.